Hello, 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 and welcome to My Empty Hands, a podcast about the martial arts. Typically focused on Kempo. As always, I am Reggie Darden, and today I'm excited to have another wonderful guest with me today, Mr. Justin Cook. And hopefully, I didn't butcher that. I always get nervous about people's names, and even though it's simple,
I get it.
I
Yeah.
always feel weird about that. But yeah, we are going to talk about his Kempo journey and whatever other items that we decide to get onto. We will do that as well. But I usually always start things off with just a little bit of my background, in that I am currently training in 5 different martial arts. Kempo, American Kempo being the primary, but I also train in Hapkido, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, Muay Thai, and Capoeira. I also have some experience in Taekwondo, and I've done some boxing as well. So I stay pretty busy, but that's part of the fun. So
Oh
that's a
yeah.
little bit of my story here. So we're going to turn it over to our guest here. Where did the martial arts find you? Where did Kempo find you? Where did it all start? And we will just go from there.
Sounds good. Well, again, thank you for having me on. Um, really excited to talk about Kempo. So thinking back, how the martial arts found me as a kid growing up, I absolutely loved watching Walker Texas Ranger. And so I was a huge Chuck Norris fan. And sorry, my parents moved out of California in 1997. We moved to upstate New York, and anytime we would go back to go visit, one of my favorite things to do was sit with my grandma and watch Walker Texas Ranger. I had a cousin at the time who started doing martial arts. I'm not sure if it was Taekwondo, Tang Sudo, or what. Um, but my two favorite things were watching Walker and then watching him at class. And there's a time his instructor gave me like a little patch. When I got home, I had my mom sew it onto my little bathrobe, and I just wanted to, I just wanted to do karate, wanted to do martial arts any way I could. But coming from rural upstate New York, I mean, we were 70 miles from Montreal, Canada. There was nothing there, and so in 2002 we moved out to Idaho, and my dad travels for work. He wanted me to be able to defend myself and defend my mom. And by happenstance, the first friend I made, who was our neighbor, he did kempo at a place uh, that rented space in Gold's Gym. And believe it or not, the two people that were running it, one of them was one of your former guests, Scott Marker and Ruin Day. So I started doing Kempo with them in 2002. In 2004, took a little break and then wanted to get back into it. And so there's another Kempo school in town ran by Mr. Mike Haygood um, in Meridian, old downtown Meridian, an old white church right across from the post office. And like to this day, the building's still there. It's a different business now, but um, yeah, started there in January of 2005. And yeah, been doing it ever since.
Very nice, very nice. Now, was there anything in particular that drew you to Kempo, or should say anything in particular that drew you to the that particular school?
Um, to that school, no, and to Kempo, no. When I first started, I had no idea what Kempo was. I was 8 years old. My buddy did this thing called Kempo. I'm like, that's cool. I want to do karate. And once we got into it, um, learned a little bit about who Mr. Parker was, and then when I went over to Mr. Hagen's school, I mean, it ended up just being closer was the number one reason. And then you know, it was a school that had their own building, and so they were open Monday through Saturday. Mr. Hagen was there all the time. So there were a ton of group classes, from little 5-year-old kids all the way up, through teenagers and into the adult class. But yeah, nothing that drew me to Kempo, just wanted to get into something and then ended up falling in love with it.
Very nice, very nice. Now, is there a particular aspect uh, that drew you in, or kind of what was your favorite things in those early days of the training?
Early days, honestly, I fell in love with forms. You know, Mr. Haygood ran the junior system. I don't remember who created the universal forms, but that's what we ended up learning as kids for the universal forms. And then as you earned your junior black belt, if you stayed with it, or if you came in as an adult, then you'd start in, short one and all the way through to long four. Um, but yeah, I fell in love with forms, fell in love with techniques. As a kid, I hated sparring. It wasn't until I was an adult when I honestly fell in love with sparring. Um, but yeah, you know, forums were my favorite thing to do. To me, Kempo was really my sport. I played sports growing up. I played high school football, but throughout all of that, Kempo was there. Basketball season ended, we went right back to Kempo. Football ended, we went right back to Kempo.
Very nice, very nice. Now, did you get into the competing side at all? Do any kind of competitions?
I did a couple later in life as a brown belt. In 2014, I went to the Long Beach Internationals, competed as a brown belt, and then really like this is terrible, but my mom told me growing up, she's like, I'm not gonna enroll you in a tournament because she's like, you don't practice enough. I'm not gonna go out and watch you compete if you're not gonna practice, and so that kind of fueled me a little bit. But yeah, I was later in life, started doing a little bit of competition, again, primarily forms. Out here, unfortunately, you know, in Idaho, there's not too many tournaments around here. Um, there's a couple local open tournaments, but that's about it.
Okay, gotcha. Now, with the competing, were you just the tournaments that you were in? Was it just the forums? Did you compete in any other divisions, or was it just forums?
Forums, and then I sparred in Long Beach as well. It was, like I said, it was brown belt division, and and this is right as like I kind of started getting interested in fighting, and I wasn't just running away per se, but and learning how to point fight, I got I felt decent at it. But I took a couple spinning back fists, and I was like, you know what, this isn't working. I'm bleeding out of both sides of my nose, out of both lips, and I'm like, all right, let's go ahead and call it. And yeah, but did the local tournament around here. I fought in that, but mostly forms.
Okay. And what was your go-to form?
So my go-to form. So Mr. Hagan ended up becoming a student of Mr. Dyes, of Mr. Paul Dye, and Mr. Dye had created a tournament form. He called it Brown Form, and I ended up competing with that in Long Beach and at the local tournaments, and was very successful with it.
Very nice,
But
very
I
nice.
I wish I would have competed. I'm weird. I love long three. I wish I would have competed with long three at the internationals. I thought that would have been a lot of fun. Looking back now, I really kind of kicked myself for not doing it.
No, I feel you. I like long three as well. I think a lot. I think there are a lot of Kempoists that are not the biggest fans of that. They're probably more fans of short three, but I don't know. I like the long three, I do it when I can. Um, as far as my competing, I've mentioned a few times before on other episodes, but yeah, I've been in a handful tournaments and got disqualified in every one of them. And it was all just in sparring. Didn't I wish I would have done the forms, and maybe I will get around to it in my old age. But I yeah, I wish I would have gotten into that side a little bit more. Maybe I would have a little bit fonder memories of my quote unquote tournament days. But that's how it goes. We don't kind of realize what we're going to miss in the moment. So that's understandable.
Agreed. Yeah.
Right on, right on.
Yeah. I really love competing in forms. I think for me, forms are it's it is an expression of kempo that sometimes some people overlook a little bit, or they don't put as much focus on. But when you look at competing with forms, it's just fun. To me, you know, especially when you change your pacing and your timing in your form to add different dramatic responses to it, it's a blast.
Yeah, there's a lot of back and forth out there about whether forms are necessary or if they're a helpful training or uh, they're locked into traditional things or things like that. For me, I look at it and I've heard someone describe describe forms in this way, in that it's the same as a boxer would do shadow boxing, and I think it's a valuable tool in training, and provided that you do it with a purpose, and that you're not just doing it just to do it, and you're not going through the motions. You're actually trying to get the particular qualities out of it. But yes, I view it in the same fashion as shadow boxing, and it does help hone your skills and help your mental focus, your emotional focus, your spiritual focus, all of those things. I think it's an important tool, and I'm a big fan of forms as well. Even those forms that are not quote unquote Kempo forms, Book Set and Tiger and Crane, and forms like that I'm a big fan of. That some other quote unquote Kempo purist, I guess if you want to call it, that are, may have problems with it, and if so, you can come find me and we'll talk about it. But that's kind of my thing. So
Yeah.
moving over to the sparring side of it. So you've warmed up to the sparring side. Was there a particular aha moment for that, or was it a gradual finding the love and interest for that?
It was a green belt at green belt level when things kind of started clicking. Um, growing up, like I was as a kid growing up, like UFC and MMA really kind of started hitting its stride. Like you had a lot of the brawler era still. Um, but as a kid you wanted to be like what you see on on TV, and it was at green belt level that things kind of started clicking, and the guy who I still teach with he started teaching a sparring focused class. And instead of just like, hey, we're going to pad up and fight, it's, hey, let's pad up, let's actually break this down and look at what sparring really is and what really can be. Um, and there are a couple things that really started unlocking what it could be to me. One of the things that Mr. Dye had talked about was um, being able to spar for hours and just turning down, dialing back the intensity, and actually looking for shots and looking for how to move and studying how the body moves when it fights and learning how to do that. I mean, my buddy and I, we would go to Kempo, then we would leave, go to the gym, go work out, and then we would hop in. They had a little side room, and we'd throw on our gloves and we would just spar 25% speed, 25% power, and just move around and look for shots. And doing that, I was able to see a lot more. And it's like, oh, it's not just throw a punch, throw a kick, see what happens. It's what happens when I do this. Okay, what's the actual response to that for that fighter? And then going from there.
Very nice, very nice. I like it. Like it. So now, have you trained in any other arts, or is it just Kempo? Or
It's just been Kempo for 20 years. So,
20 years?
yeah, I love Kempo. You know, as I grew up, I really fell in love with the techniques. Um, and once I really got my brown belt, talking to Mr. Dye a little bit when he would come up, um, and understanding what Mr. Parker had created and realizing that he's taught you so many things at so many different levels that you don't realize until you get to a point where you can look back and say, wow, this is, I learned this complicated motion. I learned the simplified version back at the yellow belt that I'm now applying as a brown belt. Okay, that's cool. Why didn't I notice that before? And it's, because you weren't ready to notice it. And seeing how he had organized and how he created the system, I ended up just falling in love with Kempo that I haven't really wanted to branch out too much. We've had, um, when Mr. Hagan had his school, we had plenty of black belts that would go off, go learn something, come back, teach a seminar, teach a class, and we got a little bit of some jujitsu stuff, some locks. We had a gentleman who did some work with the local police department, so went out, did a few classes, came back, and taught us some different joint locks and things like that. But other than that, I haven't ventured out myself. Um, right now, my focus is just on teaching, and um, at a point, I've considered, trying to go out and learn a little bit of some Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, but right now, I'm just having a blast teaching my people and, you know, playing with the Kempo.
Very nice, very nice. So with the so moving to the teaching side, was that something
Hmm.
that you always were interested in, or was it did you
Yeah.
fall into it, or have it thrust upon you like many previous guests?
I always wanted to do it. As a kid, like, my dream in life was to be a karate instructor. Um, when I started, going to Mr. Hagan's school, like, I had a couple friends, the friend that I started doing Kempo with, and then another friend, and then myself. And the two of us went over to Mr. Hagan's school, and there were times when we'd be hanging out and, like, we would teach a karate class to each other. And we would just, we'd work on delayed sword, or we'd work on, whatever technique or whatever form at the time. And, like, we would teach it to each other. And so I always wanted to teach. Um, and I had the opportunity to help out in group classes as I moved up in classes from, the youth class. When I moved into junior class, I'd help out in youth. When I got my junior black belt, I would help out in the junior class, because I was going to the adult class full time. And then that turned into getting my first private students um, as a green belt, and then covering group classes when different instructors would be gone or when Mr. Hagan would go on vacation, being able to teach some of his classes. And then when Mr. Hagan decided to retire, um, my friends and I, we opened up, we continued teaching, and we've been teaching together since 2017 at our own place.
Very nice, very nice. So what advice, tips, things that you would give someone, or in what would be your idea or your definition of one, what makes a good instructor, and what makes what qualities, what kind of definition would you put on what makes a good student?
Great questions. As far as tips for students, firstly, I'd have to say is enjoy it. You know, there might come a time when you're the one leading a drill or you're the one leading a class and you're no longer the student in that class. But enjoy the journey, enjoy the group classes, enjoy the private lessons. Um, you really soak it all in because there's going to come a time when it changes. Not necessarily that you're done, but you know maybe you move into that teaching role and it's less about the karate that you do and more about the karate that you give back. Um, so yeah, enjoy it and then really give back to the art. Give back to what the art has given you because I wouldn't be where I'm sitting unless someone wanted to teach me, and they wouldn't be where they were at to teach me without someone wanting to teach them. And so loyalty to who taught you and loyalty to the art is huge. But pass it on. That's one of the best things I think we can do. I unfortunately didn't get the chance to meet Mr. Parker. Um, I've had the chance to meet and talk to uh, some of his high-ranking black belts, and one of the things that they've imparted on me is just how much he uh, loved to teach and how much. And I felt, you know, unfortunate that I wasn't able to learn from him. So I hop on YouTube all the time and I'll watch seminars of Mr. Parker and I'll look for videos of where he's just talking just to kind of pick up little nuggets of wisdom. Um, but give back to the art. And then as far as like looking for or certain qualities that make a good teacher, you number one, you have to care. Um, one of the things that Mr. Haygood really talked and taught me um, is the students are the reason why we're here, and you need to make sure that you take care of them. And there are times when I would finish a private lesson with him and I would ask if I could just hang out for the next lesson, either be the punching bag for whoever's coming in, if I could pick up some things. And I picked up more by watching how he interacted with his students than anything else. So I think the number one thing that makes a good teacher is someone who cares. And I've not seen an instructor care as much as he has for his students. And then as far as like a tip for students is be coachable and be willing to learn from anyone and everyone. Um, Everyone is going to have something to teach, whether it's something that you can apply or apply right now, but maybe later, you've got to sit and figure that out. But listen to everyone. Don't be the loudest voice in the room. Definitely listen more than you talk.
Very nice. Yeah, we're very well said. Covered a lot of good points there. I I totally agree. There always needs to be that thirst and hunger for knowledge, and uh, you can't. You should always want to be willing and able to learn more. Uh, Especially, you mentioned being coachable. That is that is a very important point in today's times. So you're a bit younger. You've come up in a younger generation than probably the majority of my other guests, and uh, come up in a time where I would say the youth are less open to being coachable and to be willing to train. Everybody comes in and they want to just, oh well, what's my next technique, or I know this part
Mhm.
already, and to be have that open heart and that open mind to be able say, teach me something I want to learn, and to be able to get that information passed down to you. You know, we're not all going to be the experts uh, in our first class, even our first year,
Yep.
first 10
Mhm.
years in the arts. We always need to be learning. We always need to be growing, and that's very important. Uh, to also be able to get the that information where we're now
Mhm.
coming, the people that are coming up now in Kempo are getting farther away from Ed Parker and from his first generation students. So it's important to keep to keep that legacy alive, but also still continue to grow and to evolve. Kempo is very much a art that continues to evolve and continues to grow, and we need to be willing and able to do that as well, and be able to
100%. Yep.
pass that down to the newer generations coming up. So it sounds like
Mhm.
you're
Yep.
definitely on the right track for that. So very nice, very nice. I like it.
Yeah,
So oh,
I
go ahead.
try to be. Oh, sorry. Like I said, I didn't have the chance to meet Mr. Parker, but I've been lucky enough to spend a little bit of time with Mr. Dye when he would come up. Um, and that's something that he had always talked about was, a lot of us, especially, your younger black belts now, like we didn't have the chance to meet Mr. Parker, So like to us, our version of Mr. Parker is Mr. Dye or Mr. Sepulveda or, you know, Mr. Hancock or whoever. And so we didn't have the chance to meet him. So those are our um those are our versions of Mr. Parker. Um and then now, my students coming up, they never met Mr. Haygood, and they haven't met Mr. Dye. So trying to keep their legacy alive, tell the stories that they've told, um, is something that I always try to do, and give them a chance, give my students a chance to learn, where all of this came from. Um, so it's when you teach, you have a lot of responsibilities to the next generation, for sure.
Exactly, exactly. Very nice. So something that I've started asking my guest is about being a black belt. What it
Mhm.
means to be a black belt, to earn a black belt, to be quote unquote worthy of wearing a black belt, because there isn't any standards or any particular rule book or standard operating procedure for being a black belt, not only in Kempo, but in the arts in general. I'd like to get your take and your thought on what it means to be a black belt, what it means to earn a black belt, what it takes to be worthy of a black belt.
That is a very great question. You know, that's a very loaded question too. Yeah, like you said, there really isn't like a standard like, hey, this is, within certain schools there is, you know, your instructor will have certain criteria that they want you to meet. Um, for one of the things that I feel that coming from, a professional school, brick and mortar background, um, sometimes the system can be very much like a checklist. And sometimes people feel that, hey, once they've ticked all the boxes, that automatically I'm ready to test for black belt. So for me and for my students, I have the curriculum that I want them to learn, that we want them to learn, but also it really goes back to how much are you giving back to the art, you know? Um, are you teaching? I think that teaching is a huge part of what makes a black belt. Um, Being able to perform karate and do the punch kick thing is important, but what are you doing to give back? What kind of character do you have? Um, you know, some people have an issue with the kids being black belts. I think that having a junior system is a it's a great way to kind of mediate that. Um, you know, like I said, Mr. Hagen's school was in the heart of downtown Meridian, Idaho for years. You if you were to run into 10 people, about 8 of them have one either seen the building, gone inside that building to take karate, or had a friend or a relative take karate from Mr. Hagen. Um, and there was a time when Mr. Dye was up here, and um, Mr. Hagen had an accountant come in and take care of the business side of things. And Mr. Dye's sitting there on the bench. She walks in and she's like, "Oh, I didn't expect anyone to be here. Normally no one's here at this time." He's like, "Oh, I'm visiting from California." She's like, "Oh, so you do the karate thing too?" Yeah, a little bit, you know. And she's like, "Man, I've been doing the books for Mr. Hagen for a while, and one of the things I've noticed is he's got a lot of really great kids that come out of here. I've ran into a few out and about, and they're always the most respectful. They're the most polite. They're the most caring people, teenagers that I've come across. Um, and I remember this was something that a story Mr. Dye had shared with us when Mr. Hagen was promoted to his eighth degree. Um, and that is something that has really stuck with me is not just as a black belt, but as a martial artist, you should have a good character. You should have a giving character. And I'm less about the punch kick and more about what you can do, what you do outside of the mat, outside of the school. Granted, the curriculum is the curriculum. You need to be able to perform long form four. You need to be able to perform the techniques. You need to perform any form. You need to be able to fight and defend yourself. But above all, you need to have a good character because at the end of the day, the punch kick thing is fun and the punch kick thing can save your life. But most of us aren't in that situation where we have to defend our lives every single day. Um, so it matters how you carry yourself outside of the school. Um, so yeah, for me, sorry, that was a very long winded answer to that, but I think character plays a big role in being a black belt. And as far as what you give back to the art is very important.
No, I like it. I like it. Well said. And uh, the thing with that question is, I don't think there is a one right answer. So when I ask people that, I like to say, well, what is your definition? How do you see it versus, well, what makes a black belt? What in your view, your experience, your perspective is how that wants to be, how I want to frame that. So yeah, you see it one way, someone else may see it a different way, and that's fine. That's one of the things that I think in the martial arts, and especially in the Kempo world, there's a lot of fractured egos, fractured sensibilities, and I would really love to see more connection between the different people and different groups and different things, so that we can collectively help promote the art, and versus who has the most red in their belt, and that sort of thing, and chasing ranks and stripes. And uh, I would hope that we can be less interested in that part, and oh well, Ed Parker told me this, or whoever instructor told me this. It would be nice for us to be less focused on that part of it and get more about, hey, let's get this art out to the people, especially in these days. Yes, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and Muay Thai and MMA and all those things are very nice and growing and getting out there. But uh, for me personally, I would like to see more Kempo get out there and uh, instead of having no knock to the MMA and all those other things. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I do a lot of different things. So, but and I would not want to have. Well, I shouldn't say I don't want, but it would be nice to. Alongside the Taekwondo that's on every corner and the Brazilian Jiu Jitsu that's on every corner and those sorts of things. I'd like to see some more Kempo in every corner. So anything that we can
Yeah,
do to help connect each other and grow together as art versus being separate would be great. So I think
yeah, I
that's
agree.
very nice.
Um, yeah, I think with the invention of social media, growing up, I'm a millennial, like I grew up with it. Um, I think is a tool and a curse. You know, I'm on Facebook. I'm in a lot of those Kempo groups, and there's a lot of tearing each other down. And it's like, hey, everyone is doing Kempo for their own reasons. Like if you see something, and you don't necessarily agree with it, you don't need to comment on it. You know, you can just let it be and, do your thing. But at the same time, though, I think there are some people um, on social media that are doing great things for Kempo. And I think, I think we have the potential to do some really cool things with Kempo, and I'd like to see that happen.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Yes, social media is both a blessing and a curse, and yeah, navigating those
Yeah.
waters can be tricky. But we we will do what we can to try and make the world a better place and Kempo a better place. So uh, I like it. I like it. All right.
Yeah. I
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, no, you're good.
Um, I was just gonna say, being a younger black belt, I would love to see, I love that there are a lot of people putting on seminars, putting on camps, um, and I would love to see, us kind of come together. Up here in Idaho, I know Mr. Sepulveda put on a ton of Kempo camps throughout the summer. Unfortunately, I was at the tail end of that, so I didn't get a chance to experience it. Um, but I think, as a group, as a community, us coming together is important. We've been privileged enough to go down to California a few times to, hang out with Mr. Dye and some of his people. And, you know, um, we got to go down to when Mr. Dye was promoted to his 10th. And, we got to hang out at Bob White's place. And, it was cool to come together with like minded Kempo people and, just trade ideas, trade experiences, trade stories. Um, and I think like this podcast, like you're doing, I think that's a great way for us to kind of, start bridging that gap.
Yeah, that's one of my hopes with this show is to help connect each other and like I've mentioned before, we all have a story to share, and we can all not only learn from each other, but we can teach each other, and uh, platforms like this are definitely a uh, good way for that to help bridge those gaps that have been separating us. So that's why we're
Mm-hmm.
here. Very nice.
Yep.
All right, so we are going to go ahead and move into our lightning round here. Got a few questions for you as we head towards wrapping up. The first one being, do you have a
Sweet.
favorite technique?
Um, Not a single favorite technique. I think I have like a list of 15 to 20 that are awesome. Um, first two that kind of come to mind are triggered salute and snapping twig. Um, those two techniques for whatever reason, I've always really enjoyed. Of course, everyone says five swords. Um, yeah, I would say those two are definitely probably the top 10.
Very nice. Yeah, you definitely got the Kempo All Stars there. As I've mentioned a number of times, Snapping Twig, of course, is in there. Five Swords, yes. So yeah, those are good techniques. I'm right there with you. It's hard to pick just one, but we've got room for a few of those. So I like it. All right. Next question.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite form and or set?
Favorite form. One of them for sure is long three. Um, Again, like I said, I am one of the weird cats that just likes long three. Um, I spent some time working on it. I really enjoy long three. Also, probably long four and long six. Those two. I enjoy long five, but long five that burns your legs, especially when you're really focusing on hitting those forward bows, hitting those wide kneels. It's a leg burner for sure. It's cool to see, like Mr. Parker, right? Genius. Let me burn you out physically with a technique, or excuse me, a form that's got 20 techniques on both sides. Cool. Where do you go from that? Okay, here's a technique or form with half the techniques, but everything's a takedown. Everything's going to be a forward bow or a wide kneel. Have fun with that. And then long six, yeah. Let's just keep your hands moving through the whole thing. Yep. It's
Yeah.
those three forms are a lot of fun, but they're quite taxing.
Well, conditioning is an important part of the training as well. Iron sharpens iron, so yeah, you got to have things that are going to really work you and get that body conditioning so that when it comes quote unquote game time, you're ready to go and you're ready to be able to do that. And like we talked about before with the idea of forms being shadow boxing, that fits right into that, getting that body ready for
Yeah,
to go to work. So I like it. All right. Next
yeah,
question. Do
and
you have? Oh, go ahead.
oh no, sorry, I was just gonna say, like with forms, one of the biggest things that I like to think about and teach as far as the forms. Sometimes you have athletes that come in that want to learn karate, and sometimes you don't. And sometimes you've got students that this is their first sport, and you have to train them to be an athlete. And so forms are a great way to, like, hey, you're going to learn how to move. You're going to learn how to move your body and how to move your body athletically. So that's a huge thing with forms that I feel that, we need to put an emphasis on is like, man, sometimes people haven't played a sport, they want to get fit. They want to start moving and this is what they turn to. Cool. We're gonna tax that body. We're gonna, teach you how to move.
Exactly. All right. Next question. Do you have a favorite weapon?
I haven't done too much weapon work. I've done a little bit of bow staff work. I wanted to get into some of the commas. One of the things I want to do is I want to look at um, trying to apply knife fighting with the Kempo stuff, looking at a little bit of that, and also some tomahawk stuff. Um, So those are, I would have to say that I will be experimenting with a knife and with a tomahawk and just kind of see what that looks like.
Very nice, very nice. That's unique. I don't think I've heard that in the case with the tomahawk before. So yeah, I'd be interested to see how that works out. So definitely look forward to what you do with that. All right. So our
We'll
next
see.
question there. Next question is if there was anyone that you could train with, living or dead, fictional or non-fictional, besides Ed Parker, who would that be?
um, Good question. So first off, hmm, I would have
And
to
you
say
can include people that
either,
you have trained with as well. So it doesn't have to necessarily be people you haven't
yeah,
trained with. It can be anybody.
right. I would say I'd love to have a chance to train with Chuck Norris. I mean, either now or, 80s version Chuck Norris. Um, and honestly, I would love to have a chance to go back and spend another hour or two with my instructor, Mr. Hagan. Just spend, one more lesson with him, and do that. That's what I would say. Yeah.
I like it. I like it. All right. So our final question here is something that either always motivates you to train, or if you don't have anything in particular on that, something that you'd want to put out there as motivation for others to continue to train.
Good question. I'll try and tackle both parts of that. For me, to continue to train, for myself, I think is my students because, um, I have a duty and a responsibility to make sure that what I'm teaching them is effective. It's something that they want to learn, and it's in some way something that they can use in any shape or form. And so the best way that I can do that is to keep training myself. One of the things I started doing with my brown belts is, hey, we're working through the curriculum. We're trying to, push towards black, but we're going to spend a few weeks every couple months or a couple weeks every couple months, and we're going to revisit old techniques, and we're going to throw the same attack from a different angle. We're going to throw the opposite punch, the opposite kick. We're going to be the inside of the arm, outside of the arm, and just make it work. Um, so that's kind of the big thing that I'm doing right now. And my inspiration to train is, making sure that I can give my guys the things that they need to learn. Um, and as far as other students, it really kind of depends on what they want to get out of the martial arts, what they want to get out of Kempo. If they're looking for self defense, it's like, okay, well, you have a great blueprint. The techniques are a phenomenal blueprint. Use the techniques, drill the techniques, but drill the techniques incomplete. What I mean by that is only pull two or three moves from the middle of a technique, two or three moves from the beginning or the end, and just focus on that. Five swords might not be, the entire thing. It might just be a punch and a chop, and you need to figure out how to make that work. Um, so just drill the techniques, be ready for whatever, and if you're doing kempo to have fun, then just keep having fun with it. Try and learn something new um, with it.
Very nice, very nice. I like it. I like it. All right, so we are at our final piece of business today, and that is our shameless self promotion. So you can plug anything that you would like, or if there's anything else that we didn't cover that you wanted to make sure that we got out today, you now have the floor. Say whatever you'd like, and then we will close out from there.
Well, first off, I really just want to thank you for having me on. Getting a chance to kind of talk about Kempo. Like I said, this is something that I've spent a good chunk of my life doing. I'm 31. I've been doing this for 20 years. Um, I grew up doing it. Um, so, yeah, I love to talk about Kempo. And thank you for the platform. Thank you for the opportunity to do that. Um, as far as plugging anything, Idaho Kempo on Instagram. We've been kind of slacking on posting. That's my fault. I kind of took over that, but give us a follow on Instagram at Idaho Kempo, and yeah, just keep having fun with it. Keep learning Kempo, and give back for those that teach. Give back to the next generation.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, so I thank you so much for taking the time to being on and sharing your story. As I say with all my guests, we'll definitely have to do another part two and three and four and so forth. So you have a open invitation to be on any time. But yeah, I just again thank you so much for sharing your story and I can't wait to get this out for everyone to hear and. We will continue on this Kempo journey and hopefully we can continue to get this spread out to everyone to be able to learn and grow and train together. So thank you again for being on.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Look forward to coming back.
Thank you for listening to My Empty Hands. If you enjoyed the show, please share it with a friend. If you didn't enjoy it, please share it with an enemy. If you'd like to be a guest, or if you would like to recommend a guest for the show, please email me at podcast@talkingkempo.com. Thank you.